cable gloves. I've used a typical aran yarn and mainly 5mm double pointed needles. Now in part 1 we will cover the creation of these little hand warmers, and then part 2 goes on to create the main body of the glove. So you have the option there of creating the hand warmers or not. So this will fit a typical lady's hand. Now check out the description box below for details on the written instructions that accompany this video guide, and also look out for other videos that contain this plaited cable. It's such a beautiful cable there, so I don't want you to miss out. So let's get on with part 1 of the video tutorial. For this glove I'm using a Debbie Bliss cashmerino aran. So for similar results to mine, marry the ball band tension of this very typical aran yarn. So with 4.5mm double pointed needles initially, I want you to make a circle, pull through as if you're making a regular slip knot, however we're keeping this circle live. I'm just going to tension my hand. And draw that circle in just a touch with the tail. And I'm applying a crochet technique to my knitting. I found this really useful. So we're going to work into the circle and we're going to create a yarn over, but going over the top of the working needle like so. Then go into the circle and pull up back through the circle a loop. So we now have 3 stitches on our needle there, and keep going till you have 14 stitches. Yarn over, pull through, so that's 5. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So we've now got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 stitches. Yarn over, that's 11. Yarn over, that's 13. And for the last stitch, just bring this yarn forward slightly, get your double pointed needle and enter into the back of the circle so that you can pull through that last loop from the back. Carefully bring it through. Now we're just going to tighten this circle by gently pulling it. Don't worry if it doesn't seem to go straight away. Sometimes it can take a bit of encouragement. So there we go. I'm pulling that in slightly. I'm tempted to leave it open just a tiny bit because at the end, when we've completed this fingertip warmer, we're going to insert a button loop through that. So if we leave that slightly open, we can insert our loop at the end. So get a second needle and very carefully divide evenly, so we want 7. So we've got the work divided evenly there over 2 needles. We now want a third, and we are simply going to knit the first round. just making sure that I haven't got 2 stitches there. So round 1 is a very simple knitwise round. So that's needle 1. Now for needle 2. So that's our first round completed. So now for round 2, I'm going to insert my needle as if to knit, but we're going to increase before we do anything. We're going to do a yarn forward, and to enable a yarn forward at the junction of needles, we want to bring that yarn underneath the working needle, and that will create our yarn forward. And we're going to knit 1. And we want to repeat that 6 times. So that's yarn forward, bringing the yarn to the front, and knit 1. Yarn forward, knit 1. So that's 3 times. Yarn forward, knit 1. That's 4 times. Yarn forward, knit 1. That's 5 times. Yarn forward, knit 1. That's 6 times, and the last stitch, knit 1. And I'm going to place a marker because this is needle 1 and it's very important not to mix up your starting needle. So for needle 2, we're going to repeat the exact same sequence. So remember, doing a yarn forward at the junction of the needles involves bringing it under the working needle like so, and knitting 1. So that's 1 set. Yarn forward, knit 1, yarn forward, knit 1. So that's 3 sets. Yarn forward, knit 1. That's 4 sets. Yarn forward, knit 1, 5, yarn forward, knit 1, our last set, and then knit 1. And that will be round 2 completed. So round 3, needle 1, first knit 1 through back of loop. So enter into the back, knit 1 through back of loop, knit 1, then purl 1 through back of loop. So go into the back and purl, knit 1, knit 1 through back of loop, knit 1, knit 1 through back of loop, knit 1, purl 1 through back of loop, knit 1, knit 1 through back of loop, and knit 2. So that's needle 1 complete. Now we repeat the same sequence for needle 2. So knit 1 through back of loop, knit 1, purl 1 through back of loop, knit 1, knit 1 through back of loop, knit 1, knit 1 through back of loop, knit 1, purl 1 through back of loop, knit 1, knit 1 through back of loop, end by knitting 2. So that's round 3. Round 4. Now first we're going to do a 2-stitch right across, and that's a cabling term, meaning that there are 2 stitches involved and there's going to be a twist to the right. Now because there's only 2 stitches, we don't need to involve a cable needle. What we do is change the order of what we knit, and what I mean by that is we're going to knit the 2nd stitch followed by the 1st stitch. So a 2-stitch right cross, knit the 2nd stitch, leaving it on the left needle, knit the 1st stitch, and gently take those 2 stitches off. So that's a 2-stitch right cross, and we're going to be doing a lot of those. Next is a yarn over, and because our next stitch is a purl stitch, that means bringing it to the front, taking it around the whole circumference of the working needle and back down. And that's because our next stitch is a purl one. And next we're going to knit 1 and yarn forward, and we're going to do that for 4 sets. So that's knit 1, yarn forward, that's 1 set, knit 1, yarn forward, that's twice, knit 1, yarn forward 3 times, knit 1, yarn forward, that's four sets. Next, knit 1, purl 1, yarn forward, which it already is because you've just purled, and we want to do 2 lots of right stitch. We want to do two lots of 2-stitch right crosses. Sorry, I got a bit tongue-tied there. So remember, we're going to work the 2nd stitch, and we've got a yarn forward going on as well. So I've knitted that 1st stitch, leaving it on the left needle, and I'm going to knit the 1st. So knit the 2nd stitch, then the 1st, and release from the left needle, and repeat that again. So work into the 2nd stitch, then work into the 1st, and we're going to repeat that sequence for needle 2. So beginning with a 2-stitch right cross, so work that 2nd stitch and then work the 1st stitch, Gently take off the needle and then yarn over, and because our next stitch is going to be a purl 1, we bring it to the front, wrap around the circumference of the needle, so that counts as a yarn over and purl 1. Next we are knitting 1 and bringing the yarn forward 4 times, so that's once, knit 1, yarn forward twice, knit 1, yarn forward 3 times, knit 1, yarn forward, that's 4 sets, knit 1, purl 1, yarn forward, which it already is, and we're going to do a 2-stitch right cross, so work the second stitch and then the first, and repeat that again, working the second stitch and then the first. So that's round 4 completed. Round 5, we are now going to begin using 5mm double pointed needles. So with your 5mm double pointed needle, begin by knitting 2, then bring the yarn to the front, because next we are purling 1 through the back of this loop here. So get into the back of it, purl it, next purl 1, now we're going to knit 1 and then we're going to knit 1 through the back of the loop, and we're going to repeat that another 3 times. So knitting 1, knitting 1 through the back of the loop, knitting 1, knitting 1 through the back of the loop, knitting 1, knitting 1 through the back of the loop, next knit 1, purl 1, purl 1 through the back of the loop, knit 4, and repeat that for needle 2. So getting my 5mm double pointed needle, I'm going to knit 2, and then purl 1, through the back of the loop, purl 1, and then we want 4 sets of the next 2 stitches, so we're knitting 1, knitting 1 through the back of the loop, so that's once, knit 1, knit 1 through the back of the loop, knit 1, knit 1 through the back of the loop, knit 1, knit 1 through the back of the loop, Next, knit 1, purl 1, purl 1 through the back of the loop, and end the work by knitting 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Round 6, grab your third 5mm double pointed needle if you haven't done so already, and we begin this round with a yarn forward, so insert into the first stitch as if to knit, and remember we're bringing it under that working needle, so that's our yarn forward, and then we're knitting 2. Next, purl 2, next, knit 9, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, purl 2, that's 1, 2, next knit 2, yarn forward, knit 2, and repeat for the second needle. So insert as if you're ready to knit, but before you do so, bring the yarn under the working needle to create a yarn forward, and knit 2, purl 2, and then knit 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, purl 2, 1, 2, knit 2, yarn forward, end the work by knitting 2. So that's round 6 completed. Now for round 7, begin by purling into the next stitch through the back, so that's purl 1 through back of loop, the yarn to the back. We're now going to do a 2-stitch right across, so knit the second stitch, then knit the first stitch, purl 2, get yourself a cable needle. We're next going to create a 6-stitch right across, so that involves 6 stitches on the cable needle. First slip 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, onto a cable needle like so and place at the back of the work. We're going to ignore those stitches on the cable needle and knit 3. Gather the stitches from the cable needle and carefully place back onto the left needle. And next knit those stitches from your cable needle, and that would complete your 6 stitch right cross. And as you can see, you've now got a little twist that's slanting towards the right. Knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and then purl 2, next we have a 2 stitch right cross, so knit into the second stitch without taking it off the left needle, then knit the first stitch and then slip both off. Now next we're going to purl 1 through the back of the loop. Like so. End the work with a 2 stitch right cross. So into the second stitch there and then into that first. So we now have to repeat that all over again for needle 2. So begin by purling 1 through the back of the loop. So I'm setting up my needle there in position, and it is a bit fiddly in between the junction of needles, but it's not impossible. Pulling that tight, yarn to the back, then we're going to do a 2 stitch right cross going into that second stitch, then going into the first, next purl 2, 1, 2, and now we're going to create our 6th stitch right cross. So slip the next 3 stitches onto a cable needle and hold those stitches at the back of the work. Knit the next 3, 1, 2, 3, place the cable needle stitches onto the left needle there, and we're going to knit those 2. That's 1, 2 and 3. So that's our little right twist cable there completed. Knit 3, purl 2, next we're going to do a 2 stitch right cross, so knitting that second stitch and then the first, slipping them both off. Next purl 1 through the back of the loop, like so, and end with a 2 stitch right across. So our increases are now complete, so that's a relief. What I'd like you to do is check that you've got 21 stitches on each needle. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21, perfect. Little check here. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21. That's perfect. So we're set up now. Now, round 8 of the main repeat pattern section. Begin by purling 1, knitting 2, 1, 2, purl 2, knit 9, purl 2, knit 2, purl 1, end the work by knitting 2. So that's needle 1 complete. Now we're going to repeat that all over again for needle 2. Now I think this is going to be the last full round that I will show you. From round 9 onwards, if I explain needle 1, then you can repeat the same thing for needle 2. So anyway, this is the last full round that I'm showing you. Begin by purling 1, to pull that in as tight as I can, knit 2, purl 2, knit 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, purl 2, knit 2, purl 1, knit 2. So that's round 8 now completed. Round 9, I'm showing you needle 1, remember, so please bear that in mind and repeat what I show you from needle 1, repeat that for needle 2. So begin by purling 1, and then we do a 2 stitch right across, so going into that second stitch, then into the first, and then slipping them both off. Now purl 2, Next, knit 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9, purl 2, and then we want to end with a 2 stitch right cross here, purl 1 and another 2 stitch right cross. So now I'd like you to repeat the same sequence for needle 2. Now round 10 is as round 8, so we are purling 1, knitting 2, purling 2, knitting 9, purling 2, knitting 2, purling 1, knitting 2. So repeat for needle 2, that's round 10, which is the same as round 8. Round 11, needle 1, begin by purling 1, and then we're going to do a 2 stitch right cross, so knit that second stitch and then the first stitch and slip them off, purl 2, and we're going to now do, well, first of all we're going to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to do a 6 stitch left cross. So with the cable needle, slip the next 3 and hold in the front of the work, knit 3, slip the next 3 stitches from the cable needle back onto the left needle and knit them, and when that's done, your 6 stitch left cross is complete, and you can see we've got a twist in the work that is veering towards the left. Now end by purling 2 and we've got 2 lots of right stitch crosses and a purl 1, and then we're finished with needle 1. So 2 stitch right cross, purl 1, 2 stitch right cross, repeat needle 1 for needle 2, so that would be round 11 complete. round 12, which is the same as round 8 again. So purl 1, knit 2, purl 2, knit 9, purl 2, knit 2, purl 1, knit 2, and repeat that sequence for needle 2. So that's round 12, which is the same as doing a round 8. Round 13, now this round happens to be the same as round 9, but I'll show you needle 1. So purl 1 and 2 stitch right across, purl 2, knit 9, purl 2, two stitch right across, purl 1, 2 stitch right across. So repeat for needle 2, so that's round 13. Round 14, again it's the same as round 8. I'll show you needle 1 though. Purl 1, knit 2, purl 2, knit 9, purl 2, knit 2, purl 1 and knit 2. So that's round 14, which happens to be the same as a round 8. So repeat that for needle 2. Round 15, begin by purling 1 and then 2 stitch right across, purl 2, and then we're going to do a 6 stitch right cross. With your cable needle, slip the next 3 stitches onto it and hold at the back of the work. Next, knit 3, Get your cable needle, slip those stitches onto the left needle and knit them. So you have now formed a 6-stitch right cross. So you've again got a little twist leaning towards the right. Knit 3, purl 2, two stitch right across, purl 1, 2, whoops, slip that back on, 2 stitch right cross. Now repeat that sequence for needle 2, and that would be round 15 completed. Round 16, which is the same as round 8, so we are purling 1, knitting 2, purling 2, knit 9, purl 2, knit 2, purl 1, knit 2, and repeat that for needle 2. That's round 16. I'm just finishing round 16 here. What I'd like you to do next is repeat rounds 9 to 16, and then after that repeat rounds 9 to 11 and join me once you've done that little bit of extra building up of the main pattern repeat. Your work should look something like this. Next, we are going to reorganize the stitches on our needles. This is to ensure that when we come to merge this flap in with the main body of the glove, that the pattern matches. We're also going to be doing a bit of decreasing on needle 2. Now, what I'd like you to do on needle 1 is continue in pattern for 19 stitches. So that means purling 1, knitting 2, purling 2, knit 9, purl 2, knit 2 and purl 1. I'd like you to slip the remaining stitches. There should only be 2 actually. I've just been practicing this and I've slipped too many over onto my needle. So pardon me, there should be 2 which you then slip over onto needle 2. So we have now 19 hopefully. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. And on needle 2 you'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23. So that's correct so far. So now for needle 2, continue in pattern up until the central cable. So that's knit 2, after knitting 2, purl 1, knit 2, purl 2, and now we are going to do some decreasing. So we're going to knit 2 together, we're going to do that 3 times. Two, 3, knit 1, knit 2 together, purl 2, knit 2, purl 1, and end with knitting 2. Needle 2 after the decrease now has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 stitches. So both needles now have 19 stitches. We have a total of 38. Round 2, needle 1, continue in pattern, so purl 1, then we're going to do a cable over those 2 stitches, purl 2, knit 9, purl 2, after purling 2 we want to do a cable over these 2 stitches and purl 1. Now for needle 2, we're going to do a 2 stitch right cross, purl 1, 2 stitch right cross, now purl 2, then purl across these 5 knit stitches, purl 2, so we have purled across 9 in total, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 purl stitches. Now the design of this glove doesn't have a ribbed band, it works straight into pattern, casts off in pattern. So that's why I've done a decrease here and a row of purl stitches to try and help with the step that cabling can quite often create, at the edge of a piece of work. So to finish, we're going to do a little cable over these next 2 stitches, a 2-stitch right cross there, purl 1, end with another 2-stitch right cross. So that's round 2. Round 3, our final round, which involves casting off on needle 2. So begin needle 1 by purling 1, knit 2. So we're working needle 1 in the usual way in pattern, purling 2, knitting 9, purl 2, knit 2, end needle 1 with a purl 1, and we want to cast off these remaining stitches. So I'm just going to cast off knitwise. You'll be left with 1 stitch which we can just slip over the top of our first stitch, leaving us with those 19 which we can fuse in with the main body of the glove, and leaving you with this part all cast off and an edge dealt with that looks quite tidy without too much distortion where the cable is. And get the little fingertip warmers that you prepared earlier and place them right sides together like so. And we're going to fuse these 2 sets of stitches together by knitting 1 stitch from the holder with a stitch from the main body of the glove. And we're going to do that knitwise. And as you do that, you want to carefully take the stitches off as you go. So for the classic glove, this would be just a plain knit round. nearly there. And last pairing. So that fingertip warmer is now fused in nicely there with the main body of the glove. I've used a 4.5mm crochet hook and created a series of chain stitches, and I formed a loop, made sure that my button will actually go through that loop, and then I've inserted it into the top of my fingertip warmer. And pulling that original tail tightly, we can draw in the aperture to our fingertip warmer there, and we can secure all those threads very tightly on the inside. Then position your button in the right place and sew it down, and that would be your finished plaited cable glove.